comes to Pokemon ROM hacks, there are a few that stand out from the crowd for their immense quality, attention to detail, and overall sense of direction. Pokemon Unbound by Skeli is well known to be one of those games, and, in my opinion, continues to be the cream of the crop years after its full, completed release. If you don't know about Pokemon Unbound yet, it's basically a wholly original Pokemon game, hacked on top of Pokemon FireRed, with a huge new region, tons of customization, features, and Pokemon that go all the way up to Generation 8. And some features that are even unique to itself, and on top of all of that, an actually engaging storyline that takes many creative turns alongside introducing many interesting characters and histories. All centered around Hoopa Unbound, the mascot Pokemon for the game. But that's far from all the game has to offer. It's densely packed with content, and all of it is highly engaging. To top it all off, it's the premier way of showcasing the complete FireRed upgrade, which Skeli also developed as a means to allow for future ROM hacks to be more robust, with even more features than previously thought possible in Game Boy Advance ROM hacking. If you're not already aware of Unbound, it's the best of the best, and well surpasses the standards of quality of the official franchise releases. It's a must play, and I'm going to tell you exactly why that's the case. The region is called Boreas, and it's the region that went to war with Kalos that's detailed in the story of Pokemon X and Y on 3DS. It's a fascinating use of lore, and it won't be the last that we see. You play as a new trainer that has been brought into a massive adventure that spans far beyond the goal of just being the best Pokemon trainer in the land and completing the gym challenges. Though, you still do that, and in this game, that challenge is still very much fun. What's interesting is, throughout Boreas, you're going to notice that the after effects of the War of Kalos are still coming into play, and especially come into play during the campaign. There's a mysterious evil group called the Shadows, which, that might sound a little cheesy, but don't worry about it. Which many of the characters from said group have some pretty cool character designs, and they're plotting some rather sketchy business. Not quite as sketchy as in the previous releases of the game where things got pretty dark, but they cleaned that up for the main release, so that's good. While initially there's a lot of mystery as the plot progresses, there's actually many twists and turns, including a narrative connection to how the trainer bag, now known as the Cube, has infinite storage. Yeah, they go that far to just explain features of the game. These twists and turns include surprise characters, character relationship reveals, and dramatic events that are pretty crucial to the fate of the Pokemon world. As per usual, it's not necessarily Shakespeare, but honestly, this was and remains one of the most genuinely interesting plots I've ever played through in a Pokemon game. And without spoiling anything, everything gets wrapped up pretty nicely, including with a variety of post-game content missions to work through, as well to make things all the better and more exciting. As the story carries you from story event to story event, there is a huge amount of entertaining side quests to complete that range quite a bit in terms of significance. There's over 80 missions to complete, and I recommend trying to complete as many as you can. Some might be a bit much, but it definitely means that you have a game that has hundreds upon hundreds of hours of playtime in order to fully complete it. To round off everything, the final Elite Four and Champion Challenge of Unbound is highly difficult, and sure, that does come from some rather artificial difficulty barriers that are thrown in at the last minute that you won't find anywhere else in the game, but it makes beating everyone all the sweeter. The team of Pokemon I used included a starter Garchomp, a beefy Walrein, a leech-seeding Trevenant, my flying Toucanon, a powerful special attacking Pyroar, and a high jump kicking Medicham. The freedom of what Pokemon you can capture too is awesome. Each new route introduces a great variety of new mons to catch. You won't ever be strapped for options. The starter options are awesome, featuring a Gible, Axew, and Beldum, so you'll always have access to a strong pseudo-legendary from the get-go. Your rivals for the game also have powerful teams, and it makes beating them at each stage you face them feel all the better. And thankfully, the main rival for the game isn't some dude who feels bad after a loss and only ever earnestly talks about how great you are. It's a classic Pokemon rival where he's a bit of a chud. And interestingly, he gets integrated into the story in an unexpected way too, giving an explanation as to why he's such a jerk in the first place. And if the game gets too challenging, you can always change the difficulty down to casual instead. And I do warn you, insane mode is as described. Enemy trainers have their Pokemon levels adjust to match yours, guaranteeing that challenge will always be present. There's no amount of overleveling that will save you from needing to craft actual strategy. Unbound allows such a dynamic and interesting range in playstyles and difficulty preferences. You can play it like a casual Pokemon first-timer or a seasoned competitive Pokemon veteran. The customization options don't end there. You have plenty of visual options to choose from when designing your main character trainer sprite in terms of colors. You have alternative costumes to wear too that you can unlock through a variety of ways. There's over 180 original songs produced for the Unbound soundtrack, which is absolutely insane for a fan project. And many of these tracks are serious bangers that rival official release tracks. Going even beyond aesthetics, Unbound is simply massive in terms of content. There's just so much stuff to enjoy here. There's a dense post-game with a lot of new challenges and environments, including smaller stories that wrap up the loose ends from the main plot. We can't forget the daily events that can be found all across the region, some events only being accessible in certain times of the day, meaning that the real-time clock function is pretty important with this ROM hack. There's even fun mini-games, like the mining one that feels right out of Diamond and Pearl, and others that have their own layers of content to peel back, like Cloudburst. By the way, that mining section happens in the expressway sections of the game, which are like this underground navigation system for the region. To be honest, this is probably one of the lesser parts of the game. It just kind of feels like there's a lot of running here. I mean, you do get a bike, so you can kind of go through these expressway sections pretty quickly, but it just feels kind of drab. It's a nice convenience for exploration, but ultimately I just wasn't a big fan of the whole KBT expressway or KTB expressway. The expressway. Aside from that though, the overall design of Boreas is pretty genius. It's all just crazy impressive. It was impressive when it first released, and it remains impressive today. The user interface updates made in Unbound especially are so commonplace in newer Pokemon ROM hacks, along with many other features due to the power of the complete FireRed update. Maybe you're used to seeing Gen 5 UI in your Game Boy Advance Pokemon ROM hacks. In that case, you should probably thank Skeli. I haven't done the New Game Plus mode yet, but Unbound is so fantastic that I eventually might. Yes, many congratulations are in order for Skeli. He and the other contributors for Unbound have made, in my opinion, the ultimate Pokemon Game Boy Advance experience. The high level of attention to detail, the overall care and love put into the game is just astounding to comprehend, especially when you realize they're doing this out of their love for Pokemon, not for profit. So even though Unbound and CFRU are well known online and often praised, I personally don't think it's all that bad if I add to that pool of praise. It's a genius fan project that any fan of Pokemon should play. Don't stay bound to the classics forever. It's time to jump into something greater, something unrestricted from previous limitations, something dynamic and massive, something truly unbound.